in front of you are two knives that actually look quite similar, but they're actually quite different. Okay, and one of them is a real thing, and the other one is a fake. Fake is the right word for it because clone actually shares DNA, and this two do not share any DNA. What I mean by that is, I'll explain to you guys. Okay, now one of these two knives are a real thing, and the other one is a fake. So tell me which one do you think is which one? Okay, it's pretty obvious actually, especially for those of you guys who are familiar with Microtech knives. I am not, to be honest. I don't actually. I don't really like this kind of automatic knives. So. But anyways, what I mean by that is, in many cases, I find manufacturers actually deceive consumer. Meaning, I say that based on experience of importing a couple of products, okay, throughout the years. What I mean by that is, let me be straight up. It's not the case with Microtech, okay. Microtech in my opinion, do manufactures everything locally in the U.S. I'm assuming it's from the U.S., right? In many cases, other manufacturers, not necessarily knives, but any products, right? You would find the real thing, obviously made in the U.S. or made in the Europe or whatever, right? And you would buy the fake ones, and then people bashing it, saying, "Oh, it's fake and stuff like that. It's subpar quality, etc., etc." Not necessarily correct. With this one, it is. This is totally different. This sucks, and this one is really good. Now, what I mean by that is, other products is the fake ones, which is made in China most of the time, actually do share the DNA with the real thing because the real thing was made in China. Now, that's the reason why I said that the manufacturer actually is deceiving the consumer. Now, why are they allowed to do that? Because requirements and regulation actually state that in many cases, okay, I don't have the factual details of it, but in many cases, as long as you meet the certain amount of percentage of parts made locally, you could stick that made in USA on your products. Okay, so so maybe they're trying to meet go through that loophole or whatever, and then trying to save money. I can't blame them for that, but unfortunately, a lot of the uninformed consumer would ignorantly straight up say, bashing the quality of the product. If you want to bash it, bash copyright violation. Don't bash the quality. What I mean by that is, if this is the case with what I was just saying, these two knives are totally different. This is not the case. You could tell every single little minute details of the two comparison side by side shares the same machining marks in the most minute details. I'm not gonna name what those are. Like I said, once again, does not happen with this one. This is totally different. But in many cases, for example, in other products, you compare the ones that's claiming to be made in the US, the one that's made in China, you compare it side by side in detail. Every single little thing are identical. That means the product that's made in China, actually, in many cases, they were the manufacturer of the real thing. Now, why it's not the case then? Because the fact of the matter is, in many cases, Chinese do not really care about reputation. Chinese products, okay, factory or manufacturers, all they care for is profit and money. So they would open their service for whatever people throughout the world, and then, for example, I would go to my Chinese factory and then ask them to manufacture me this a watch or whatever, and then their requirement would be, okay, you have to sign a contract for me to manufacture at least 1,000, the minimum 1,000 products, okay, and then within a year, whatever, a quota. Now, failure to meet that quota will result in me, the factory, or in them, the Chinese factory, owning that design. So in many cases, because they haven't met that requirement, it all depends on the contract, right? So that in reality, the Chinese legally own that design, so they could manufacture themselves and sell it, or they could simply just violate the contract because just the way they are, they could do whatever they want, right? So that's what happened. And then in many cases, the Chinese product look exactly identically, shares the same DNA with the real thing. Once again, I repeat, not the case with this one, okay? So in many of those cases, the only difference is basically the materials. For example, if this is the case, like I said, this one is claiming to have M390 blade steel, which is an awesome, really high quality blade steel. This one, even though it says M390, it's fake, okay? In actual fact, it's, I don't know what this is, what blade steel this is, but if that's the case, they could be using something inferior, a D2 or something cheaper, okay? And then the finishing could be something else, right? If, for example, the real manufacturer, when they gave the specs and requirements to manufacture this product, they said, okay, I'm gonna require this part to be made by stainless steel. And then the Chinese, even though they share the same CAT scan, not CAT scan, the CAT design, machining, CNC, etc., but they choose to use something cheaper, cast steel, whatever. All right, but other than that, they're basically the same. That's the reason why they could, obviously sell the product at much cheaper price. Obviously, they stole somebody else's design in China. Now, like I said, back to this two knives, that's not the case. Microtech, I think, do not do that. I think they, every single detail of it is different. Not necessarily mean, as a machining factory, you think they could not copy this design? They could, but for some reason, this manufacturer do not want the extent to actually copy it in minute detail. All right, so okay, so there you go. I mean, just compare these two knives. This is obviously inferior in quality. The feel of it is different. Okay, it's still pretty solid, but it's different. When you open this knife up, it just feels different. The knife actually opens really, really strong and crisp, whereas this one is actually not that crisp, okay, for the lack of better terms. Anyways, just for fun's sake, that's, this video is for nothing scientific or whatever, but the finishing is different. As you guys can see, has a bit of a shiny finish to it. My friend actually think this looks better, but beg to differ. This one actually looked obviously much better, and logo wise they're pretty much identical, even though they are different. Okay, if you actually take the time to look in detail, they are different. Now that R registered logo right there, it's absent in the fake one. Chinese do that sometimes. They could actually make exactly the same, but for some reason they just choose to do that, make a bit of a difference. And that is also different. The blade looks similar, but they are different. Okay, if this is the case where I just explained to you guys just now, you look in the most minute detail, they are identical, but it's obviously not the same. Even the blades cutting are not the same, grinding is not the same. Obviously the spine, this on the fake one is much thicker, this is much thinner. The fake edge, a quick look would make it will fool people, but just I think the easiest way to tell the difference is on the screws on the fake one. You guys can see the difference. This is much more refined, and that's a bit, the triangle at the edge there is much more sharper than the real thing. And just take a look at this R, and then the pocket clip is also different. The real thing has a serial number. Like I said, it's easily replicated, but for some reason the factory did not went that far. And then the pocket, the glass breaker is also different. Okay. I guess that's about it. This is just for fun, man. The video, it's nothing scientific. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt, you know. All right, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate the time. Click the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Bye bye.